You know, back in the early 2000s, rock and roll was having this huge comeback. And there was one band that wasn't just part of the scene. They felt like the lightning strike that started the whole storm. We are talking about the Ya-Ya-Ya's, their energy, their style, their incredible sound.
So let's set the scene. It's New York City, right at the turn of the millennium. There's this new sound just brewing in the city's dive bars and little clubs. This raw, kind of gritty, no apologies garage rock revival. It was all about stripping rock music back down to its core. And right in the middle of all that was this trio, and believe me, they were ready to light the fuse.
So, who exactly were the members of this art punk trio? Let's dive into how they all got together and what made them so different right from the very beginning.
All right, so meet the band. You've got the one and only Karen O on vocals, just this magnetic force. Then there's Nick Zinner on guitar, with those riffs you just can't forget. And Brian Chase, the absolute powerhouse on the drums. So Karen and Brian actually knew each other from college, but the real magic happened when Karen met Nick in a New York bar. She said it was an instant connection. The chemistry was just there. And just like that, in the year 2000, the Ya-Ya-Ya's were born.
Now, you might not believe this, but Karen O and Nick Zinner, they actually started out as this quiet little acoustic duo. But they realized pretty quickly that they needed to, shake things up. Their whole goal was to create something loud and chaotic and artistic, a sound that, in their own words, was trashy, punky, and grimy. And that mission, blending that raw punk energy with this experimental art school vibe, well, that's what put them at the very front of the art punk movement.
And wow, did they make an impression fast. I mean, before they even had a full album out, the Ya-Ya-Ya's were already opening for bands who would go on to define that whole era, like the Strokes and the White Stripes. Their live shows were just legendary, so explosive, the buzz around them got incredibly loud incredibly quickly.
But that early buzz? Oh, that was just the beginning. The band was about to go from being a local New York sensation to a full-blown international phenomenon, and it was all thanks to one groundbreaking album.
So, in 2003, they dropped their debut album, Fever to Tell, and it was a total game changer. It sold more than 750,000 copies around the world. This proved they weren't just a critic's favorite. This was a commercial juggernaut that basically rocketed them from those little NYC clubs onto the global stage.
You know how every legendary band seems to have that one song, the one that just changes everything for them? Well, for the Ya-Ya-Ya's, it was the third single from this very album. That song was Maps, and it wasn't just a hit, it became this huge cultural touchstone. This raw, emotional ballad, it showed this completely different, more vulnerable side to the band. It became their signature song, and its power was just undeniable. I mean, it ended up on Rolling Stone's very prestigious list of the greatest songs ever made.
And the album itself was just showered with praise. From a Grammy nomination to being named one of the best albums of the entire decade by NME, Fever to Tell really cemented its place as a modern classic. There was no doubt about it. The Ya-Ya-Ya's had officially arrived.
Now, after a debut that explosive, a lot of bands would just try to do the same thing all over again. But the Ya-Ya-Ya's? They did the exact opposite. They evolved.
And Karen O herself described their 2006 follow-up, Show Your Bones, perfectly. She said, it's what happens when you put your finger in a light socket. And yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. The sound was still raw, still electric, but this time it felt sharper, more focused, and every bit as intense as their debut.
And it wasn't just their music that was evolving. Their whole look, their whole aesthetic was changing too. You can literally see the shift right here. On the left, you've got that raw garage rock energy from 2006. And then on the right, by 2009, it's a much slicker, synth-heavy, dance punk style.
Their creative drive was just unbelievable. In just 10 years, they put out 4 totally distinct, critically acclaimed albums. Each one felt like a brand new chapter in their sound, right up until they finally decided to take a well-deserved break.
So, their 2009 album, It's Blitz, that was their biggest shift yet. They traded in a lot of that early garage rock grit for these shimmering synths and beats that were made for the dance floor. It was the era of dance punk, when indie bands were embracing electronic music, and the Ya-Ya-Ya's just perfected it. This new sound gave us massive hits like Zero, and of course the iconic Heads Will Roll. And yet, they still sounded 100% like themselves.
Then came their 4th album in 2013, Mosquito. Commercially, it was a huge success. It was actually their highest charting record in the US. But with the critics, it didn't quite get the same universal love as the albums before it. You could just feel that something was shifting, and this moment kind of signaled that a change was on the horizon for the band. So after more than a decade of non-stop recording and touring, the band needed a break. But, as we're about to see, this was definitely not the end of their story.
Their journey back was a slow burn. After they officially went on hiatus in 2014, things went pretty quiet for about 3 years. Then, in 2017, came the announcement every fan was hoping for. They were coming back to the stage. And this whole comeback trail finally led to 2022, when they released their first new album in almost a decade.
And here they are, back where they belong. This picture from 2018 just captures that renewed energy as they hit the stage again, reminding everybody of that incredible power and presence we'd all missed.
And this comeback wasn't just about playing the old hits. Their 2022 album, Cool It Down, was an absolute triumph. It got universal critical praise, which really proved something important. Even after being away for 9 years, the Yeah Yeah Yeahs were still a vital, forward-thinking artistic force in music.
So when you look back at their whole career, spanning 2 decades now, their legacy is just so clear. It's a story all about constant evolution, this fierce artistic integrity, and a really stunning level of creative consistency.
And honestly, nothing shows their excellence quite like this. Just look at this. 4 different albums, spread out over nearly 20 years, were all nominated for the same Grammy Award. That kind of consistent critical praise at the highest level is just incredibly rare. It really speaks volumes about their talent.
And their impact was obvious right from the get-go. Think about this. Even before their first album was even out, Rolling Stone was already calling them the best thing to happen to punk rock. They were basically saying this is the future. And they were absolutely right.
From the gritty clubs of New York City to massive global stages, the Yeah Yeah Yeahs have built one of the most dynamic careers in modern rock. They've changed, they've rested, and they've come back stronger than ever. So really the only question left to ask is, what could their next chapter possibly sound like?